And then if you're going to contact your specific representative to, hey, praying for you, respect you, praying for wisdom and guidance as you rule our district, I believe you need to support this bill of abolition for abortion because the lives of the unborn matter and they're sacred at the moment at conception because they're human beings. So then what's your next step? Well, you called, you emailed, you did your part. The work then becomes before and after you do those things to pray. Lord, the God of heaven, please allow this bill of abolition to get passed or give it a hearing or whatever the state it is, because he's ultimately the king. He's ultimately the ruler. He is ultimately the supreme commander, and he can do the unthinkable. I'm sure for those that stood up for righteous decrees, whether it was William Wilberforce or so many others, they had to rely on the supreme commander, which was God, that he would do this thing. And so that's where the work has to be. The legs to that work, apart from prayer, are the phone calls and the emails. But the main work is prayer, because that ultimately changes things. That ultimately is what changes your state or your government. And then you have to have faith that he can do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Feminine Glory podcast. I am, of course, one of your hosts, Lydia Edmonds, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Esther Edmonds.
Hello, everyone.
And we have a very special in-studio guest today, Noah Edmonds. He is back for his first time appearance, second time being on the podcast. This is the first time you actually get to see him. So this is what Noah looks like, everyone.
Yep.
I kept my word. I came back.
He's back to talk about a very important topic. So, but before he does, Esther has to read an ad.
Yep. So, are you tired of being subject to the current trends at clothing stores? Stores that are offering you immodesty, high prices, and poor quality clothing? The Feminine Glory store exists with a resolution not to listen to fads, but to help women find cute and yet classy clothing. Feminine Glory store is a mom and daughter's shop designed to bring women the type of materials that they need to beautify themselves, their homes, their lives in a classic and affordable way that ultimately brings glory to God. Women have been given the unique task of taking dominion by making things beautiful, and that ultimately reflects the truth, goodness, and beauty of our Creator. Help us show the world what biblical beauty looks like. Head over to feminineglory.store today. That's feminineglory.store.
Yes, there we go.
That's our store.
Good job.
In case you didn't know.
Are you tired of the current trends?
Yes.
We have, or had, I don't know if we still have. Do we still have men's shirts?
A couple.
We had a couple men's shirts. We might still have a couple men's shirts.
The fact that I have to look for the right length shorts is really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to shop my thighs that badly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We could say a lot on men's fashion, but we're not gonna.
It's sad. It's sad.
So, to why you're here.
Yep. So, Noah, why did we invite you? Why are you here?
We're trying to change the world.
We are.
We're trying to change the world.
Specifically.
We're here to talk about abortion. The abolition of abortion for currently our state. Of course, we're talking about for hopefully the entire U.S., but after Roe was overturned, it got closer to home. And so we're currently talking about how we can push the fight to end abortion in our state.
So I guess it's kind of where we should start. First, we're going to get into Roe in a second, but like kind of how you got started on this journey, I guess, would be a good place to start.
Yeah, it was really a God thing. So I got invited to go to see Jeff Durbin speak. It was a really random thing, but I was invited by some friends. Hey, would you like to come hear Jeff Durbin speak? He's going to be talking about abortion for the state of Georgia and how that current fight is being had. And so I hadn't really thought much about entering for the fight for abortion, but I went there. First of all, it was great. I mean, for those that know and listen to him, he's a very eloquent speaker. He's also passionate about truth and about God's law, which what makes him so appealing. But he basically just challenged us as fellow Georgians. This isn't my state. This isn't my fight. I mean, of course, he's helping several Christians across the U.S. to fight abortion. But he said, this is your job. This is your state, and these are your legislatures. So go and tell them the truth or whatever, and tell them to support. But for our bill, HB 441 is what it's called. And so yeah, that's where I was challenged by it, And then it kind of unfolded out from there. So then a couple weeks later, I went and approached our pastor. Hey, I'd like to help. Our church, I want to help spearhead this thing. We can get our church involved in this thing. And then just started doing a lot of research. And then it's really morphed into this big thing where we're now really, really involved. It's been a total God thing. If you would ask me 3 months from now that I'd be doing this, I would have probably laughed. But it's been really good. And it's helped me grow and show how God's word really, how to apply it in the public square. And so, and it's impactful. So
what are you right now spearheading or fighting for right now currently in the state of Georgia? Like, why did we have you on now, I guess would be the question. What was the reason why you jumped in, and what's your goal?
Yeah. So to answer that question, I need to give a little bit of context. So it's gonna be a longer answer than you're probably asked for. But after Roe was overturned, a lot of states had I forget what they're called, but they had laws in place that if Roe ever got overturned, you may know what I can't remember what it is, but
it's like I'm almost on the tip
yeah,
of my tongue.
I should know it, but they had trigger laws. They had trigger laws in place. And what that is if Roe ever got overturned, our state would immediately be abortion-free states. And you saw that in many states: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, several states across the U.S. I think Idaho might be another one. Georgia, sadly, is not one of those states. We have a 6-week ban, but a lot of these states, and then you're man, praise the Lord, abortion is, we are chipping it away after so many years, after so many decades of innocent lives just being lost on the whims of our own opinion and our own easement. We're finally get to go this thing. But then the more research you do, the more you realize, wait a minute, this is not abortion free. These states are not abortion free. Well, why, you may ask? Well, because abortion pills. Abortion clinics in those states are illegal. Abortion pills are not. So now it's even closer to home than it was. So it's no longer just for the states that don't have bans, just the clinics that you have to go after. It's also this industry of, they can order pills and the government will not go after them. So all that say, why am I involved in this? Because we have an ability, in our state, we have 25 sponsors, which is unheard of as far as I know, in any case in the United States where they're currently fighting abortion. So 25 sponsors and an ability in a fairly, quote unquote, fairly Republican state, where we know from the people we've talked to that they would love to see abortion ended. And so we have an opportunity that was made very clear at the meeting, which is why I got involved, is because, well, we have a window. Why not see what the Lord does using that window with HB 441, where the moment at conception, that human being has the same rights under Georgia law that any human being does. So that's what
it's a person.
It's a person, and it's defined by law as a person, which is really sad that we have to do that to begin with. But in the current culture that we're in, that's what the law is doing. And it mentions, and it's a biblical point that the bill makes. When you go read it, we recognize this is a God-created human being, and is a human being at conception. Mm-hmm. Period. And so that's what makes this bill so amazing. And it would kill abortion and it would kill IVF all at the same time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that has been a point of contention among many evangelical circles, and then among obviously like unbelievers just in general. Mm-hmm. And so so if somebody was like, but IVF is a good thing because it allows people that can't have babies mm-hmm. to now have babies. Yeah. So what would you say? Why do you think that it's a good thing that IVF be destroyed? Yeah.
So let me first say this. I understand for women who can't have babies, I understand they naturally want to have children. I do get that. And I want to see every woman that's married and the husband and wife wants to have a kid. I would love them to have a kid. But the dark side with IVF is the moment that you fertilize all eggs, in my opinion, and I think all Christians' opinions should be, you have to protect the lives of all those eggs that are just conceived, but they don't. And so they try, in my opinion, when they do that, they try to play God and they only do the ones that they want to, and then they trash all the rest. That's the sad thing about IVF. So IVF, it's selective, and then you just fertilized, and now all these human beings here, and then you just discard them and trash them. And so it's a really dangerous thing. Well, first of all, God's has allowed us to have amazing knowledge, especially in our time. We have amazing tools, amazing resources, but we also have to understand, and this is where I think we're lacking right now, is we have all this information, we have all these tools, we have all these resources, but yet God created it with a specific purpose, right? And so when you don't know what to do with those resources, you don't know the reasoning behind those resources, well then, not only have you taken the meaning behind it, then you try to instill your own meaning into those things, and now you're playing God. And that's not good. We did that with when Roe was first struck up in the Supreme Court. We did that with Obergefell versus Hodges. We define what we think marriage is. We define what we think a family is. We define what we think, and you can define it with any other thing the government is. And when you play God, things always go wrong every single time. And so Churchill said in an amazing essay in 50 Years Hence, the name of the essay said, we have to ask the question, what are we here for? What is life? What is the purpose of it? So what's the purpose of marriage? Well, it's to bring children into the world. Naturally. And so do I want to see couples who can have kids? Yeah.
But there's adoption.
And there's adoption. And so there's definitely ways that you can do that. But the moment you want to play God and try to do things, and then you want to discard some God-created human beings, that's not okay, nor is that biblical, nor is it just. Yep. That human being has the same type of rights that you have. Yep. And just because it's small and can't defend itself or speak for itself doesn't give you the right to do that. And so that's why I'm opposed to IVF. It's too dangerous, and sadly, it's a huge moneymaker. And so this abortion thing would end that. And then, well, people would say, well, then what about all those families that don't get to have those kids? Well, when you do it God's natural way, there's adoption, as you said, and then people will go back to having families, and they go back to being the God-created way. So,
kind of going back to what bills like HB 441 would institute, giving these babies, these immortal souls, like a person status. What does that then do? What kind of onus does that then place on the mother if she were to take the pill?
Great question. So, what the law? This is a big question. So, a lot of, and this goes into the difference between. So, the people that we run with, as far as trying to end abortion with our current bill HB 441, people would call us abolitionists, which we are. We are abolitionists. We want total abolition for abortion. Period. Then what about the pro-life movement? And this is what makes us different. And so pro-life, number one, is not about full abolition for abortion. And one of the biggest reasons is they do not want to criminalize the mother because of empathy for the mother. She's been victimized. She's been taken advantage of. She is not the instigator, nor should be punished for the abortion. And I just don't think that's the case. I mean, if you just do enough research and you look at the data, they know what they're doing. They know they're killing their baby, and they don't mind being seen doing it. And so what this law does, but regardless if it's the woman or whoever, even if supposedly she was forced to the abortion, HB 441 does not instantly criminalize the mother. We're not just abusing women with this bill. So what this is whoever instigated the abortion is going to get criminalized, whether that's the dad or the mother. But whoever does it will be criminalized under law, whoever did it. And so the whole thing about you're not defending the mother, well, if it is the mother, she is going to get punished because she just committed murder. And so, but if it's not her, then we'll find out, because by God's grace, we have a system of government where we're going to find out. There's going to be a just way of doing this in court of law, and whoever was responsible is going to get punished for it.
Because no matter what, even if it was an awful situation with rape, It's not the baby's fault.
Yeah.
And so it deserves to live. And either way, so we're acknowledging there are cases.
Yeah.
But once again, if you can prove that you were forced to get it.
Yeah.
And then also I think it would prevent people from just having sex with just anybody and then reserving it for marriage, because once again, it's we've created a culture where it's so easy just to get rid of the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's also important going back to, we're going to talk about in an episode, I think launching Monday. By the time this comes out, it'll be coming out Monday.
Yeah.
About definitions are super important. And so when you dumb down a baby to just a fetus in the womb and say it's not actually a human until its brainwaves are functioning, then that has all kinds of serious consequences to it. And we don't want to go to we don't want to think about the reality that we are actually murdering a human being.
Yeah.
We have just destroyed this human that has an immortal soul.
Yeah.
And so that is why we want to fight for abortion. And that's why I think that it's so important, Noah, and I want to support you in any way I can for this, because I think that that's very important to defend. And I think that a lot of Christians are being very apathetic towards that.
Yeah.
And we go along with the terms of even just calling it, a fetus. It's like, no, I'd prefer the term, it's a human being.
Yeah.
At whatever stage of life, as soon as it's conceived, it is a human being.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that we're in really great danger. And there are a lot of issues with even if you just say it's, as long as it's, as soon as its brainwave starts to function, then it's a human being. Well, then what do you do with a full grown human being that's an elderly person that its conscience is not, you know what I mean? They're not functioning, right? And they can't recognize people. Are you just going to kill them because then their brain isn't fully functioning?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think there's a lot of danger there. Do you see kind of that path forward if we continue to call it in these other terms?
Yeah, you already see it with, so we have abortion, but you also have eugenics. So this isn't what this is I think what you said is battle for the dictionary, but it's also, we're also in a huge battle on standards of morality. That's what we're also fighting for. So when you have a culture like ours who believes, an evolutionist standpoint where it's survival of the fittest, and it's from the goo to the zoo to you. Well, it doesn't matter what the kid is. It's just a sack of protoplasm. You know what I'm saying? And so, and they don't want. And when you don't understand that certain things have consequences, Charlie Kirk said this great when he was on college campuses. When you play certain games, you win certain prizes. And we don't want to. And we are a culture that doesn't want to deal with consequences. We want to do what we want, and we want things to go our way. But then when God created a certain way, well, you're gonna reap certain consequences for that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you just can't just go up to somebody on the sidewalk and murder them just because you want to. There's going to be consequences to that. And so when you don't have a culture that understands the authority of a God-created world, well, there's going to be consequences to that, but they don't want to hear it. And so that's just the reality of it. And then going back to the apathy thing for Christians is we don't know our Bibles well enough, and we don't have a backbone enough to hit the public square. So the sad thing for me is I wasn't doing any of this a year ago. I wasn't really even. I mean, you always want to stand up for what's right, and you want to, be a good, faithful Christian. But I wasn't thinking about doing this until a few months ago, and so it's just Christians need to be more involved and less apathetic to it. Because just think, there's a great website also that Jeff Durbin is helping run called End Abortion Now, and you can go into your state wherever you are and see how many clinics that they are. It's not, for some of these statistics, it's not a strict number, so they're gonna I wouldn't go, this is a strict number of what's happening in your state. But as far as abortion and clinics go, they try to tally what they think might be in your state. Well, I looked at one day last week, there's 82 abortions per day roughly, and that number changes. It could be in our state, and 114 could be another day, so it just depends. But think about that, every single day 82 lives are lost. Just think about that for a minute. Every day. And it's just one after the other. And so it's literally, this is literally life or death. And so, and Christians have to know this is happening in your state, and it's happening under your leaders. And so what I think Christians really need to do is what it says in Isaiah 1:17, which is learn to do good for one thing. So we need to learn what good is. And we all need to know that from what our Bible says. We need to know what our Bible says and learn what goodness is. And then we need to seek justice, right? So what is justice? Well, what does justice look like in Scripture? And then after that, rebuke the oppressor. So what is good? Well, goodness is life. Goodness is justice for the unborn. And we need to stop the oppressor, which is currently your government who's allowing these things to happen. So, and if you don't do these things and you knew about it, that same blood is also on your hands if you don't step up and do it. So the consequences are huge. And so you have to, especially as Christians, if you claim that the blood of Christ has washed you, he gave us a commandment in Matthew, which says, go and disciple the nations because they're mine. And so we have to do that. And that also includes things like this, which is why it's so important. We need to know what it is like in the public square and how do we interact in that.
So kind of then, if you could give like a specific for Georgia, then kind of a call to action, like what can we do?
Yeah.
And then also I have a follow-up to that. Okay.
Yeah. So right now where we're at in the current fight, so we have till March 6th to right now our representatives are in Congress right now. They're in session. It started in January, but we have till March 6th for HB 441 to get a hearing for a vote. So last year we got a hearing, but it was past the time that it could get voted on the floor. So that's huge. So by God's grace, it got the conversation started, and it showed how the fight was here in Georgia, which if you had told me how much support it got in Georgia, I wouldn't have guessed this much, but we've got a lot of support here in Georgia. But you have to March 6th. What does that look like? Well, the Speaker of the House needs to know that we support HB 441, and he needs to know that he needs to give that bill a hearing. It's in his court to give that bill a hearing. It's got we got, again, 25 sponsors, and we've also have a committee that's going to be looking at that bill, but right now they can't look at it until he gives the bill a hearing for a vote before March 6th. So what Christians need to be doing is calling the Speaker's office every day. They need to be honest, but humble and respectful, for he is still, the right way to look at Romans 13. He is your authority over you. So be respectful, but also be honest. Hey, we support you. We're praying for you. But we want you to give HB 441 a hearing for a vote before March 6th.
What if you receive some pushback, as some have?
Sure. So we've received some pushback. We've been applying a good bit of pressure, which is good, which means it works. It's working. And it means also that our opinion is being made known to him. But know that, so one argument I've heard could be given, well, the bill hasn't reached him yet, and so therefore he can't do anything. Well, then your simple response could be, well, when it reaches his desk, let him know that we as Christians believe that life begins at conception, and we believe that he should protect the lives of the unborn. And whenever he has the abilities to support HB 441, we would like him to, and he needs to. And also know that we're praying for him to be a wise leader, and that we respect him. But then whenever he has the ability, we want him to support HB 441 in whatever way he can.
So where the goal is to, even if it hasn't reached his desk, to just make our stand clear and let him know that several other Christians feel the same way. Mm-hmm. So that way when it does reach his desk, what everyone has said up to that point will be in his conscience when he decides to let it go through or not. Yeah,
so because I had one phone call recently where I said, hey, I'm just calling. If you could give a message to the speaker, please give a message that I understand he has a lot of influence over HB 441. If you would please tell him to give the bill a hearing before March 6th. That's an important fact, before March 6th, so we can get a potential vote on the floor. So then the response was, absolutely, I will. She was very respectful, but it hasn't reached him yet. You may want to get with your local local representative. I think your simple response could be, well, whenever he has the ability to support HB 441, I, as an American and Georgia citizen, would like him to support HB 441 because we as Christians believe that life begins at conception, and we believe that he should defend the lives of the unborn. And then also remember that these lives are, like, as you're calling them, be motivated. These lives are being lost every single day.
Mm-hmm. And pray for him.
And pray for him, yeah, because he's, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. It's probably not good that we know what's happening behind closed doors. But Georgia, what I know about Georgia, it's not an easy state to rule because of the type of people that we've got. That's just how it is. It's probably the same way for a lot of other states. But we are a very interesting people down here. So it's a hard job, I'm sure. There's a lot of things happening. And then, pray for him to do the just thing. We recently saw the movie Mark Felt, with filters, FYI, just in case you want to go see it. But it was a pretty good movie. And so for those that don't know what the movie's about, it was about a Watergate and this one FBI agent trying to figure out the truth, what was happening, what was behind Watergate. And even though the consequences went all the way to the top, in this case, for the movie, all the way to the White House, there's still, the character still had, he still was motivated, a moral obligation to stand up for truth and justice. And so you have you as a Christian, if you believe God's word, you have a moral obligation to stand up for justice. And that's that. And you have to be motivated for that every single day, mm-hmm. because you either believe this is God's word or you don't. And so that's just what's at stake here.
So what about in terms like the people who aren't in Georgia?
Sure.
They're like, well, I'm not even sure if we have a bill, or I know for a fact we don't have a bill. Kind of like, how should they go about
So a couple things you can go. So I would go to endabortionnow.com. That's a website that Jeff Durbin's people have set up. That'll give you more idea of where abortion's at after Roe. So that would be another thing. Another website I would go to would be Foundation to Abolish Abortion. They've got other resources. They've got an amazing documentary. I would highly recommend people to watch that. It was great. But basically, where is abortion now after Roe? And that gives you a lot of the details that we've just explained that you can go see and figure out for yourself. But then go to either of those websites and you can see which ones have active legislation to abolish abortion. Not all the states have them. So if your state doesn't, then you got to start from scratch and work on from there. But for those states that do, such as Texas, I think, Oklahoma, Georgia, and other states, South Carolina, we'll leave them getting all those right. But those that have active legislation, you can see on both of those websites. More so, I would lean more toward active legislation to Foundation to Abolish Abortion. But as far as U.S. level, endabortionnow.com would be more where you can see U.S. wide where abortion's at right now. But yeah, those would help you start how you want to start to end abortion. And if your state doesn't, then start figuring out where your representatives stand locally, and then maybe even go to the Capitol and go have a conversation and try to get people to support it and then get something started. But then pray peacefully and respectfully. Please. We are Christians. We don't start riots. We don't start causing an upheaval. But and then pray. The Lord does amazing things with unknown means. So just those would be some ways I would encourage people to start.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Apologia Studios shop have abortion tracts that you can pass out? I've seen abortion tracts.
Probably. They probably do. They've got material that they can send you as well, as far as tracks and other things that you can do to learn more. And then how do you they also show how you can address clinics, I believe, if you want to go hit the clinics. I think I'm getting that right. And then, they've just got great resources as far as what Apology is doing, how they're hitting their local government, and then how they're hitting these states for the fight to put in legislation on the local level for the states.
So really quick, you mentioned that you were an abolitionist. Now, so when you say abolitionist, I know there's a divide between people that are in support of ending abortion. There are incrementalists and abolitionists. So when you say that you're an abolitionist, do you mean that between the two, you're an abolitionist? So between incrementalism and abolitionist, you would be an abolitionist? Or do you mean that you're just in support of the abolition of abortion, but you're fine with it happening incrementally?
Yeah, great question. So I'm definitely for, in the broad sense of the term, for abolition. We want abortion ended, period. You know what I'm saying? That's just, we want it ended. We want all evil ended. No questions asked. But as far as that debate goes, I would be more of an incrementalist. And why do I say that? Because like when two armies are in war, you want the least amount of casualties as possible. And so if we can get, for example, I hate that Georgia has a 6-week ban, but there are babies that were saved from the fact that we're a 6-week ban. We could have no 6-week ban, and then more babies could be lost. So it's a matter of if there's a bill that will save lives of babies, then I'm for it. Even though I want, we're not trying to show partiality. We're not trying to, well, this is good enough. But if we can take steps where it's toward abolition, of course I would want to support that. But in the best of my dreams, I would want abolition. But if we're going to get things where it's going to save lives and legislation, then of course I would support that. And I just think get what you can, but then long-term abolition and long-term. But then a lot of these things, a great example would be William Wilberforce. You got to play a long game with these things, especially for how long it's been instituted for a long time. And just a lot of people either don't care or are not educated. And so it's just, you just got to be ready and willing to play the long game. That's just how things are. And then don't get discouraged as well. But all that to say, incrementalists would be, in that debate, would be me.
And that's just how things work. I mean, like, you have, like, even with wars, you know, just steady plotting and over time, after you win battle after battle after battle, then you win. Yeah,
I mean, you can't, the Allies couldn't get to Germany right after the Normandy landing. There were specific steps they had to take, hard steps, in order to reach Germany. But you went piece by piece and with the least amount of casualties as possible. So that's how you win wars.
I think this topic, abortion, is a good kind of reminder to the Christians to, like, to be willing to always put in the work, to no matter what it is. Abortion, like, you do as a Christian, first of all, just as a citizen, you have a say, but then as a Christian, we are obligated to speak the truth, to stand up. So I think it's a good reminder just to, like, be willing to, like, do type the emails, to give the phone calls, to make sure that we are making our stance as Christians known. Whether it's abortion or any sort of piece of legislation that's going to be passed.
And have the hard conversations.
Be willing to have hard conversations. I think for me, what's been really huge is how much you need to care and how much I haven't cared. And so I think it's high time that Christians in particular stand up, because we have an amazing God who's done the ultimate victory, which was on the cross. And if you have to think, this matters because he said this is evil. It was so much evil that it was evil even in Israel's history. In Leviticus, Deuteronomy, he makes that clear: you shall not kill your babies. And so if you know, on Sunday we did the Lord's Prayer, on Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come and thy will be done. What does his kingdom look like? Well, it's
not sacrificing
your babies. And so, and I mean, it even says in Isaiah 10, woe to those who decree unrighteous decrees, who write misfortune which they have prescribed, to rob the needy of justice, to take what is right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So we have leaders currently right now who are giving unrighteous decrees and taking advantage of the fatherless. And so that has to matter. That has to matter. If you are a Christian, obey God's word, that has to matter. And it's your duty and obligation to do that. And honestly, this stuff isn't that hard. You know what I'm saying? They make it seem, and I mean, if you're not used to it, I mean, it's going to be awkward when you first get started, but you got to flex that muscle and you got to continue to grow. And and it's just another God created human being, and you have to tell the truth. You have to explain the truth, and ironically, it hasn't been long for us to get pushback on these phone calls, in my opinion, because truth matters and truth is potent, and they feel it and they know it, and so that needs to be communicated. Especially right now, we have a great window to get something done. Will the Lord do it? I pray that He does, and if He does, how beautiful it would be for a state like Georgia to get abortion abolished, and it would be amazing. I probably would cry. It'd be amazing.
Those would be good tears.
Yeah.
Big happy tears.
Tears of joy.
Tears of joy and victory.
Final call to action would be to head over to which website to check your local representatives.
Yeah, you can. It's really easy. You can just look up something simple. Georgia representatives, or for whatever your state you're in, my representatives, and you can go. You'll find their website easy, and they could list all the representatives. And then if you're going to contact your specific representative to, hey, praying for you, respect you, praying for wisdom and guidance as you rule our district, I would really love it, and I believe you need to support this bill of abolition for abortion, because the lives of the unborn matter and they're sacred at the moment at conception, because they're human beings. And just send that over to them, email them. And then if you're in a situation like ours where it's up to the speaker to get the bill a hearing or a vote, then contact the speaker and tell them exactly the same thing. We respect that you are the speaker and represent the entire state of Georgia, and we want you to give the bill a hearing for potential vote before March 6th. And that's basically all that you have to say. You could even, and you then get creative. That we are Christians. We support this. We believe that life begins at conception, and we want you to support this bill because this is a righteous thing, and there is injustice what's happening in our state. And then regardless of what his aides give him, they could all, for all you gave the message. They wrote it down and then they'll give it to the speaker or your representative. Say, hey, I got a phone call from such and such, and they told you they want you to support this bill of abolition. Or worst case scenario, they throw it away because they've got their own agenda, and that could also happen as well. So then, what's your next step? Well, you called, you emailed, you did your part. The work then becomes, before and after you do those things, to pray. Lord, the God of heaven, please allow this bill of abolition to get passed, or give it a hearing, or whatever the state it is, because He's ultimately the king. He's ultimately the ruler. He is ultimately the supreme commander, and he can do the unthinkable. I'm sure for those that stood up for righteous decrees, whether it was William Wilberforce or so many others who were standing up for righteous legislature, they had to rely on the supreme commander, which was God, that He would do this thing. And so that's where the work has to be. The legs to that work, apart from prayer, are the phone calls and the emails. But the main work is prayer, because that ultimately changes things. That ultimately is what changes your state or your government. And that's where, and then you have to have faith that He can do it. And so He can do big things.
Say it doesn't happen.
Sure.
It gets a hearing like it did last year, but it's after the session's closed, and so it's not allowed to be voted upon. What do we do?
Continue to get educated. That'd be one thing. Get more people involved. So for me, the one disadvantage is I got in late, and so I didn't, I wasn't much involved before a few months ago. So get more people involved, get your network bigger, because the key thing to getting things like this done is networking. Start a texting thread with some friends, some other people, and continue to add them, or start a Signal chat.
What about your church? Would you get your
church
involved?
Your church needs to be involved. That's a must. That's an imperative. If talk to your pastor, talk to your local elders. Hey, could somehow we do this thing where our church rallies together? Because that ultimately is another big thing. Your church being involved, because your church needs to be involved in things like that. And they need to be speaking out on things like that. That's where a lot of beautiful things right now are happening, is they're springing from the church, and that's where it needs to happen from. So your church needs to be involved. That's imperative. And then network, continue to get people educated, continue to get people involved, know the difference between the pro-life and the abolition bills, because those also matter, because some people may be of good faith and opinion of the pro-life establishment because they sadly don't know the facts that the pro-life establishment is not about abolition. And so they'll stop the clinics like they have, but that's it. They will not criminalize the woman. And so how do you kill a weed? Well, you kill it at the root. You can't just chop off the stem and think it's over. And so that's what this abolition does. And it gives no question that is a human being, which is the fight for the dictionary, as you referred to earlier. That's where this is at. And so that in the off season, that's what you need to do. And then continue to keep tabs on what your local government is doing. That's one thing is, I don't think we know enough about what's happening in your local legislature. And you need to be more involved in that. Don't just be upset when your taxes go up. That's also bad. I'm not suggesting that it isn't, but it needs to matter more. And you need to care more. So stay educated, but also start networking. And then, by God's grace, if it happens again next session, your local Congress, you have your own little army, and just hit it hard again and again and again, and just keep on doing it. And then eventually, regardless if it takes 5 months or 5 years, when it finally happens, the little steps that you did now, networking and learning and educating people about it, will then lead to the ultimate victory. So yeah, those would be some things that I would say for that.
And in terms of frequency of emailing and calling, how often?
Every day. So every day. And then leave no doubt that they know where you stand, and they're not gonna want to hear it, but they have to keep telling them. You have to keep hitting it again and again and again, and then there's no question whether it's the speaker or your local representative. I need to support this because my constituents want me to support this, or else their job may be on the line. And so, because they want re-election, and they may not get it, and so that also matters as well. So, but yeah, those would be some things that I would say for that.
And just stay faithful, because
yeah,
some of God's promises took years before they were fulfilled. Yeah. So I think, like you were saying, just keep praying. The only time to stop praying is when you stop wanting it.
Yeah, and then we don't know what. We don't know how the story's going to end, but you have to be a good character in that one scene. So what does your scene look like right now? Well, if there's a bill on the table that could be given a hearing, do the emails. Don't say you didn't do anything when there was an opportunity to do it. Stay faithful. Continue to alert people. Continue to get people mobilized and involved, because there is strength in numbers and there is power behind strong voices, especially Christian voices, in my opinion. And so, but keep praying. Make it a matter of prayer with your church, and then let God do the rest. But you have to do. You have to do your part in it, and then just leave the rest to the Lord.
Boom.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And that's a good place to end.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank y'all for having me. It's been awesome.
And for those of you that would like to take a deeper dive into kind of the theology behind what the Lord has to say on this topic, on our website, feminineglory.org, in the index section of this episode, we will have Noah's notes from a talk that he gave at our church. So we will have that linked there, and then we will link below those websites that you need to go ahead and get involved.
And if you want specific contacts for the Speaker of the House, just email us at feminineglory at gmail.com, I believe. Feminine Glory Podcast at gmail.com.
And that would be for local Georgians.
Yep.
Which may be a dumb statement. But
so Feminine Glory Podcast at gmail.com, and we can give you that information.
Yep.
Until next time, ladies, pursue feminine glory, and we'll see you next time on the Feminine Glory Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye.